What was your "this person is on another level of stupid" moment? Back when the Fukushima nuclear power plant disaster happened, we were discussing how the reactor had failed in a science class. 5 minutes into the conversation, a girl piped up and said, "I don't see what the big deal is. Why can't we just regrow it?" She deadass thought a nuclear power plant was a plant. I can't use this, I'm left-handed. It was a fucking shovel and I was the idiot that thought a left-handed shovel existed. This was my first experience in retail where I learned what many customers would be like. Seasons were changing, so we put a lot of shirts we had to get rid of in the front and made them 50% off. I was working the register when a woman came up to buy her things. I rang her up and could see a look on her face like something was wrong. That's when the following happened. "Lady, why is this so much?" Me. "Pardon me, lady. This should only be $10, not $20. I thought that maybe her item was on sale. So I asked if she could point out the sign because I wasn't aware of it. It was a small store and we didn't have to walk anywhere. Lady, this sign here." Me. "This sign says that all shirts are 50% off." Lady. "Yes. So why is this full price?" Me. "This is a hat." I work for Parks Canada in Yoho National Park. I have been asked the question, "Seriously, where do you keep the animals at night?" Twice in my career. To this day I still find great joy imagining what they thought was going on each night as we collected every large animal in the parks. My friend is allergic to walnuts. One day, he made this sandwich in our college dorm. It had walnuts garnished on top of the bread. I then remember him telling me, "Oh look, there's walnuts on here," and proceeds to eat the entire sandwich. At the time I didn't know he was allergic. I leave to shower and when I come back there are 2 paramedics in our dorm taking him out on the stretcher. The following day I asked what happened, to which he replies something along the line, "I accidentally ate some walnuts which I'm allergic to. And by the time I went to get a Benadryl, my throat had started to close and I couldn't swallow it, so I had to call 911. I was just utterly shocked how he even let this entire situation happen. I really couldn't believe it. College days. Am I right? Edit. He knew he was allergic to walnuts but hes very careless, so it was one of those YOLO moments. Luckily I don't think he did that ever again. I had a coworker who could never figure out what time her 15-minute break was over. We were both bank tellers. Not me, but a friend worked in a call center for a CC company in the disputes department. The number one item people called to say they never purchased: interest charge. Knew a girl in middle school that didn't understand the concept of perspective. She also thought north was whichever direction you were facing at the time. I was friends with a guy who believed those fake Apple adverts like Apple Wave, microwave your phone for instant battery charge. I was so dumbfounded that he actually fell for it. When I saw him the week after and he had a new phone, it all clicked for me. I locked my purse with my keys and cell phone in my apartment. I went to the office to ask maintenance to let me in. The woman at the desk said she would call maintenance and asked for a phone number they could reach me at. I said there wasn't one because my cell phone was locked in my apartment. She insisted she needed a number. I said I could give her the number but that I wouldn't be able to answer if they called. She suggested I get my phone out of my apartment so that I could answer when they called. I rolled my eyes at her and said if I could get in my apartment to get my cell phone I wouldn't need maintenance to let me in. She never did understand me. But maintenance did show up 10 minutes later. How much is $50 worth? She was the newest teller my boss hired. Will never forget that moment. I was once asked how it felt to come to the US as a refugee. I'm from Germany. She then looked rather surprised when I told her that Hitler has been dead for 75 years and that Germany is one of the more liberal countries in the world these days. She full-on thought I fled Nazi Germany. I had to explain to a girl why you couldn't grow your hair down in front of your face and just cut out eye holes. Even explaining it her, she couldn't grasp it and brushed me off as being too smart. Someone in my history class argued that Mussolini was a type of pasta. There was a girl in my high school who forced the teacher to pause a documentary about people living in mud huts in Africa because she was upset that they were showing us fictional movies in a history class. It took everyone else in the room to convince her that people actually live like that in some places. Wealthy area living for ya. We were talking about the Irish potato famine in college, and this one girl said, "Oh wow, I thought it was the potato family." As if that wasn't enough. She later asked, why were they so eager to get jobs? If I was that hungry I wouldn't even try to get a job. Man, I wish I was joking. I used to work with a girl who was sweet but so dumb. We were in a meeting once and somehow someone mentioned baked ham. My manager said, "Ugh, I hate ham. It looks like human flesh." The girl I mentioned was sitting next to me and looked horrified and whispered, "Does ham really come from people?" Quote, summer camp counselor made all the kids on a school bus keep the windows up on a hot day because they could feel the air conditioning coming from the front of the bus. It was so hot and I, maybe 10 years old at the time, had to explain to the 40-year-old counselor that the air conditioning they were feeling was the wind coming in through the bus driver's open window. She still didn't believe me. I begged her to ask the bus driver to confirm the bus did not have air conditioning, but she didn't want to bother him while he was driving. It was like a 1-hour bus trip. She finally got hot enough and asked the bus driver if the bus had air conditioning. And he jokingly said the bus only has air conditioning when the windows are down and the wheels are turning. She then looked back at me and said, "See? I told you the bus had air conditioning," and proceeded to force us to keep the windows up. When a dumb as a brick girl that I went to high school with asked our history teacher if she'd ever owned a slave. I worked at a meat desk for a summer job, and a woman came in and asked if we had any meat without spices or sauces. She then proceeded to tell us that the doctor had said that her dogs got sick because she kept feeding them pizza and they couldn't handle the spices. She then said, "Oh, but they love pizza so much. I feel bad for them. I'm probably still gonna feed them pizza." I got a concussion a while back. A friend of mine told me not to come close because it might be contagious. They weren't kidding. I worked at a restaurant and we had a dish that was just a whole grilled chicken, chopped into pieces. A woman who ordered for delivery called us, absolutely scathing, complaining that her order of one whole chicken only contained 2 chicken breasts. Had to explain to grown-ass woman that chicken only have 2 breasts. Edit. To clarify, the rest of the chicken was also there. She was just expecting more than 2 chicken breasts. She stated this clearly to both me and my manager, who she insisted she speak to over this inconvenience. Watching a man try to open the locked front door of my shop while a bright red closed sign was literally inches from his face. He kept looking at the door like it was just stuck. We asked our classmate to prove she knew the 7 continents. Her list went like this: North America, Europe, China, the Pacific Ocean. I shit you not. Ex-flatmate cancelled the gas and electricity contract because it was too expensive. Wondered why we had no more electricity nor gas. She thought we paid €90 a month to get a hotline 24/7 in case of problem. The time I watched someone who had missed their exit on the highway stop on the shoulder, back up, turn around, and go up the entrance ramp. I could not fucking believe it.